Martin from the Philippines. We're here in Real Talk Lifeline. So we're doing an impromptu Q&A. So this is just spur of the moment. I got uh, a message just a few hours ago tonight, and someone reached out, said, "Hey Martin, I saw your post and video on breaking an arrow that's poked against your throat. I don't want to be insensitive or what. Raining on somebody's parade is not my intention for reaching out either. But being someone who I respect personally, I was hoping you could walk me through the whole experience because I've seen it, been through it, and still don't get it. So I'm answering your question through this live because you're asking me to walk you through it. So I feel like there are other people who would ask that question also, and I would be curious. So you ask the question, I give the answer. So let's get to it. Why would you want to break an arrow that's poked against your throat? What's the whole point? And this person has been through it, still doesn't get it. So I could relate actually. The very first time I experienced that arrow breaking exercise was back in August, crossing over to September 2018. That was my Millionaire Mind Intensive, T. Harv Eker signature program or seminar. So on one of the last days, because it's a 3 day intensive seminar, that you have this arrow that will be poked against your throat. So here's a little spoiler. Let me get my props here. So I did it more than once. So let me set this here on the side. So the first time I did it, I believe it was this one. Maybe you could see by the age or discoloration already. So this was probably my first arrow breaking exercise. So the arrow I used. So I'll walk you through it. So the first time I did it, I was scared as fuck. I had no idea. I thought, are you crazy? Like, what are we doing here, right? If you felt that, man, we all relate in the house, right? So I was following instructions. So I'll walk you through this as I progressed and understood it better. I was just following instructions from the lead trainer, the safety people around. You have your safety goggles, you wear gloves, I think, to prevent from the splinters. They demonstrate it, so that's super key and important. Like you need to have a professional or someone who's been through it and knows what they're doing demonstrate it to you before doing it. And then another key thing that I would walk you through that made me understand it better was we write something down actually before actually doing it. So what I wrote on mine is I wrote a fear that I wanted to break through or overcome. So the best way I could articulate it or write it was that word doing nothing. So on the stick. And then you when you put it against your throat and then you walk through it, so you go through the process, and then you break it. So the first time I did it, I was really in shock. I really didn't understand, just like you asking the question. I was like, what is this? Like, what's this craziness like that? So later on, I did another one, maybe the one you saw in my profile picture, the um, MDRT, Million Dollar Roundtable Transformation Camp. I believe it must have been either this one. So it's like a more local looking stick, without the metal tip, or this one, I think another wooden local looking stick. So either of those. And then I did it again 2020. So this was with Blair Singer. I did a sales and leadership mastery seminar with him. And then the most recent one was this year. 2023. So the very first Millionaire Mind Intensive, I believe so just last September, yeah, September 11, the 3 day period then, 9 to 11. It's the first face-to-face Millionaire Mind Intensive since the 2020 COVID lockdown. So instead of writing doing nothing, I noticed I wrote something a little different here. So it says living life in fear. So I started becoming more aware or articulating like the fear I wanted to break through as I went through the process. So similarly, once you go through it at least once, similar, let's say I would make a parallel to doing something crazy that you thought was impossible, but then you break through it. If you don't want to do it through the arrow breaking, which is pretty extreme, you can do it through an ice bath. So I discovered ice baths in 2021, yeah, November 2021. So that was already another extreme activity that it builds your self-esteem or your self-worth, self-confidence, if I could say something like that. Because when you do something impossible and you give yourself proof of that, it builds you up. So it stacks up. That's why I did this more than once, actually. So doing it once, I didn't get the lesson at once. So Tony Robbins, his version of that is walking on fire, the fire walk, which he does in Unleash the Power Within. So this is like T. Harv Eker's signature thing. People who have done this are like Vishen Lakhiani of Mind Valley, just to name someone else who did it. And he had a video on it. He still kept his arrow as a souvenir. So the fire walk, that's Tony Robbins' version. You don't have to attend the seminar to do that. You could go skydiving. The one who asked this question, I believe, let's say you ride a motorcycle, right? And you have that extreme experience as well. You ride a big bike, um, 400cc and up motorcycle. It's that. Now, just to keep the live short and to wrap this up, it's not just the act of breaking the arrow using your throat. One thing I learned by doing it again and again is the conscious, like the intention, setting the intention before it. You could break like 100 arrows using your throat and not get anything from it because it's mindless, right? It's not conscious or intentional. But then with a proper guide or setting the context, right? The awareness, and then you go through it intentionally, and then you break through that fear or that challenge that's holding you back. You could use that anchor, that experience, memorable, visceral experience, to overcome or give you proof if you face another extreme challenge in your life. Could be a health challenge, physical challenge, emotional or relationship challenge, mental. So that's what that is about. I would say the arrow breaking. So people watching the live or the replay, if you have a different breakthrough process or understanding of how breaking this arrow using your throat uh, helped you, like how you processed it, please comment down below. I'm also curious to learn from you guys because people learn differently, and I'm just sharing how I learned it over the years, how I processed it, and how it has helped me. So I hope that answered your question. Thank you. I love you, and I will see you next time.